What do you think is going to happen if you give someone a massive lump sum of 600 grand and say, don't spend that, it's got to last you for the next 40 years? What do you think would happen? They spend it. At the end of pitching insurance, we say, it is always my job and always my goal to eliminate all financial risk. We know this covers our income, which is the lifeblood of our entire existence. If that stops, everything stops. I never sold an IP policy when I was at Common. That's crazy, by the way. I am both happy about that because it's a good story to share and to show that I'm human, and also appalled and disgusted at the fact that I didn't, by the way. Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Mortgage Business Mastery Podcast with me, Ash Borland. If it's the first time we're meeting, I am a business coach and brand strategist, helping mortgage brokers simplify success. Over the years, I have helped hundreds, and I do mean hundreds, of mortgage brokers. At this point, I'm like, you can tell the weariness in my hundreds at this point, improve their impact and income, and I want to do the same for you today. And in today's episode, interestingly enough, I want to do something that I'm excited to share this with you. So I want to share with you the insurance package, which is what I refer to with my clients as the full solution. This is the specific insurance setup, insurance stack, we could call it, that I coach my clients to sell. And I want to share it with you. I've never actually shared this on a podcast before, spoke about it a little bit here and there, but never done the whole thing. And so I wanted to share it with you today because I feel like, sharing is caring, isn't it, at the end of the day? And I just also have spoke to a few clients this week about it a lot. I speak to most people about this, but I'm really enjoying it. So I wanted to go through it with you and explain it. And so this specific package is what we look at. And there's two packages we kind of mainly look at, but this is the main one. So there's the financial resilience package. So before we dive into what this is, let's talk a bit about the type of people, why people don't sell insurance, and then the type of packages they do sell. So from my experience, there are people who do different things. So you find that there are advisors who just don't sell insurance at all. And my thing to say is, shame on you, slap on your wrist. Not good. That's not a good one at all. And the reason why I say that, though, is you should. But what I find is people who don't sell insurance fall into a number of camps. So the first reason they might not do it is, one, they don't know about it. They just physically don't know. They're not bothered. They can't be bothered. They don't want to learn it. They don't know anything about the products whatsoever. So that's the first one. The second one you have is, they want to sell it, but they're a little bit nervous about the products, and so they're apprehensive about what they do and don't sell, and so they just don't approach it. You also have people who are worried about the clawback, which, by the way, is a dumb thing to worry about. Let me explain through the clawback for a second. If you are selling, let's say you do because on average you're going to get a clawback on 10% maximum. So if you get advisors, for example, who will make $60,000 a year or $70,000 a year doing mortgages, no insurance, because they don't want the clawback risk. Then what happens is then you go, okay, cool, but what about if you sold 200,000? I mean, I'm really being if you're someone who is doing 80,000 a year in mortgages and no insurance, you could easily get to 200K just with the 80,000 you've got. So you could get those 80,000 to 200,000 just with the clients you have, with the correct kind of discovery call, submission system, all these type of things going in, and correct sales process and packaging, which is what we're talking a little bit about today. You could get that to 200,000 quite relatively easy. You could actually do that. And so why do we say that? Well, so why I'm saying this with the clawback is 10% of 200,000, if they clawed back, bear in mind they're not all mortgage insurance, but let's say if they were, is like 20 grand. So if you had a clawback of £20,000, but you still walked away with £180,000, £100 gross extra than what you would have had, doesn't make sense. And this is the logic kind of pitfall that I see brokers when they talked about this thing of, oh no, it's the clawback, I'd rather just not have the clawback. So you'd rather lose it's more than half, it's more than double, it's like 1.2, 1.4 times your income extra if you were to sell insurance, because of this fear of 10% clawing back, which actually might, of course, as you go bigger up, that 10% is going bigger, 20,000, 40,000. I've got a client, for example, that does 1.7 million, and mostly insurance, all insurance. Their claw is much larger, but it's still 10%. But it's like 170 grand a year. But that's fine because they've factored it in. So think about that. That's a logic kind of downfall I see with people when it comes to insurance. So that's one of the reasons. The other thing you have then is similar to clawback within this concept, is people then sell a life policy, like a basic DTA life policy, because they just want to stick. You just want to get that. We don't want that. That's not good. It's not good for your clients. It's not good for clients. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone. So don't do that. And then what you seem to have is these people, and by the way, I'm put my hands up and be really honest about this. This was me at the beginning of my career. Sell life and kick and nothing else. We assume that a massive life policy is going to cover. I have people I work with who told me this over the years, many of them, who are selling life like it's IP or like it's fib. So it's like, oh yeah, well, you'll get a massive lump sum, and then you can use that to live on an income. Or you could just sell them a family income benefit policy, which is cheaper, better, more fit for purpose. Like, what do you think is going to happen if you give someone a massive lump sum of 600 grand and say, don't spend that for it's got to last you for the next 40 years? What do you think would happen? They spend it? People are morons. They'll spend that money like instant. There's better policies out there. And we see this happen. And then you also see people who just sell the kick because they don't. And why did I do it? I'll tell you why I did it, because I can say why they didn't do it. I'll tell you why I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I worked at Connells, and it was pretty under the kind of cover, not pushed, but forced this idea of, if you do an IP policy, you could get it could quite easily get you an unsuitable case on a case check. And that would mean that you could lose your job, or could go on risk, or you could go on to like a risk of losing job, or risk of going into like what they call it, effectively, they're trying to push you out. But if you sell kick, nothing really happens. So we just avoided it. I never sold an IP policy. Never. When I was at Connells. That's crazy, by the way. I am both happy about that because it's a good story to share and to show that I'm human, and also appalled and disgusted at the fact that I didn't, by the way. I sold lots of IP and FIB later on, but I didn't when I was at Connells. And so that's a big example. We see these people. So if you're into this one as well, not a good one. And what I will say is, if you are one of those advisors that are within that, and then you have the people who sell the life, the life, the kick, and the IP, but they don't sell the FIB. That person, still not good in my opinion. So what? And then on top of that, gosh, we're going even deeper. Then on top of that, you have the people who then are selling it. And this is fine if you're any of these. I'm not throwing shade at you. I'm just saying, before we get into how he actually works, if you're any of these, this today should help you. Then you have the people who are selling 100 grand's worth of kick as because they've just like licked, just pick the finger up in the air and gone, let's pick 100 grand because 100,000 sounds good. Like, why are we picking that number? There's no real reason. There's no real logic behind it. And from a compliance perspective, that's going to be hard to justify. So there's lots of things I see, and I see it on a daily basis. I work with people all over this space, as well as work with coaches who coach this stuff, including like Matt Chapman and Gary Waters. So, I'm their business and brand coach for them as well. So I understand this stuff. So what do we do then? What should you do? Well, let's break down what I teach my clients when it comes to the package. So the first thing you want to talk about is that the language is what we refer to as, we no longer have bronze, silver, gold. That's banned. Bronze, silver, gold is a banned term. What we need to have is, we choose to eliminate risk, reduce risk, or accept risk. This is what we're trying to say. When we're saying, we're not doing this whole stupid, cheesy sales thing. It's, do you choose to eliminate? We want to eliminate risk, so completely eliminate it, reduce the risk, or accept the risk. These are the first things you need to understand. This is the language. Now, I actually learned this from a behavioral economist who coached me on this. And the way that he described it to me, it was years ago, is he described it to me and said, imagine that we're playing Russian roulette, okay? And he says, and there's a revolving gun. Now, this is very extreme, so I'm sharing it to you because it was a great image that he said to me. But he said, you can say it to some clients. I have said it to clients in the past. It can, depending on the right client, can work, depending on the client, it can't. But just think about this from this logic. He was like, imagine there is a revolver. You put that revolver on the table, and then someone puts in 3 bullets into the chamber. So there's six chambers, 3 bullets. And he was like, put those 3 bullets in. That you now have a 50-50 risk, which is roughly about the cancer risk right now. So yes, we've got a 50-50 risk. And obviously to this, you can't eliminate the risk of getting ill. You eliminate the financial risk. So he's like, so there's a 50-50 chance there. And then he said, how about then we remove 2 bullets? So there's 1 bullet left in the gun. So we remove bullets. So what we do is we reduce the risk. So we've done that. Now this, by the way, is reducing the risk of, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, actually. So we reduce the risk. And he said, then what you want to say to someone is, so how much would you pay now to take that final bullet out the gun? To eliminate all risk. Because it's the final bullet that matters. It's a 5, was it? Is it like a 1 in 5 chance or 1 in 6 chance? Is that right? 1 in 5? Don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's like a 50, but I don't know what it is. I'm losing my percentages on this. There's a very small chance the bullet's going to go, but there's still a chance. So it's still there. The risk is still there. So to take that final bullet out of the gun is a big thing. And that is what we do when we eliminate risk with our clients. If we just give them a life policy or a kick policy or, a little bit of DTA or whatever it may be, we are removing bullets from the gun, but there's still bullets in the gun. And our job, I think anyway, as advisors, is to completely remove, where possible, if with the client's permission, eliminate the risk, financial risk to the client. That's what I think we should do. And that imagery, and some of you might think, Ash, she's ranting. Others will go, that's brilliant. That imagery for me, when Mark, who was my coach and my mentor for that, taught me that, it was like, click, I get it. That was for me, was the switch that made me like, I can sell this. Because I finally understood what the stakes were and what the client should feel like the stakes are. Now, of course, you're not going to sit with the client going, if I put a gun on the table, but that's a really great imagery of you getting to understand genuinely what it is you do, which is very important. And so every time you are leaving clients walking away with just that life because you were worried about the kick, or you're worried about the clawback, or you're worried about them saying no, or any of that rubbish that we play in our heads, think about that person walking away with a gun with bullets still in it. That you have allowed them to leave your office or leave your company of some form of Zoom call or phone call, and they have walked away with bullets still in the gun. We don't want that. I want to, and they said this in my discovery call scripts that I work with clients. At the end of pitching insurance, we say, it is always my job and always my goal to eliminate all financial risk. Always. Don't feel embarrassed about that. This is important with what we're saying here. You shouldn't feel embarrassed about that. You shouldn't feel apologetic about that. There is nothing wrong with you wanting to eliminate all financial risk and do the best thing for your client. Nothing. And that means you have to tell them the stuff they can have. And if that comes with a hefty, massive price tag, which it does, by the way, it does, then people will, that's fine. There's a thing we have in our mind with this. If someone says to me how much money, I spend way over £600 on insurance. My insurance is, give or take, depending on what I'm adding to it right now, might top up at about £900 a month on my insurances of everything in. So PMI, everything like that. If I threw everything into it, my insurances will probably, at the end of this, when we're just adding something in, literally as I'm recording this, there's something been doing this week, then it will probably be about £900 a month for my personal family kind of covers. That's fine. I'm happy to pay that. It is a proportionate amount to my income to protect my income. Clients on average should be spending about 5% of their income on insurances. It's just should be done. And it's our job to educate them that should be about the right amount. Not 10% of the mortgage, because I don't really have a mortgage. So 10% of the mortgage for me is like stupid. Like I'd be like, oh, zero. I don't have, so I mean, I will have to have a mortgage later, but not right now. So that would be silly. I pay my mortgage off. I live in a small house, by the way. I need a bigger house. So this is the scenario. And I live in an expensive area, that's why. So it's one of the stories like big house, big jump, big leap. I'm just to justify my thing. Because the reason I say it is because people always go, you've got no mortgage? And I'm like, yeah, because I paid off my mortgage, but I'm just delaying the jump to a big house just because I can't be bothered and I'd rather invest. So anyway, why I'm saying this then is how do we then promote it? How do we actually talk to our clients about it? Well, this is what I recommend to my clients. So the first thing we want to do is this would be the package. So the first part of the package is we need to look at your income insurance. And income insurance includes income protection and family income benefit. Okay, this is what we have to say to our clients and think about it this way. And so why do we do this to our client? Why are we including these together? Put them together because they are that. I actually personally believe income protection on its own is a half-baked product. You get income until you retire if you're unable to work. Great, but what if I die? Family income benefit, which is a much cheaper product, should be up there, right in, underneath it, bang, it's done. That is our income insurance. We have fully insured our income. Fully. And ideally, if you want to go real scale with this, and by the way, just as I said before, about £200 a month should be what clients should be spending. I would say average, it's about £200 a month per household is your average premium, between 100 and 200. Any of you listen to that going, oh my gosh, because I have people come to me and go, I get good premiums. I'm doing like 50, 60, 70 pounds. And I'm like, great. Per client? Like per individual? Because that's what it should be. It's not protect my bubble. It's real covering real things. So averagely, like I said, it should be about £200. I would say that when I work with people, non-geographic location, that's not London. London's and like southeast, like I live in Cambridge. There's like a lot more. I would expect more in there. I'd expect in Cambridge is more like the 350, 400. And if I was, if I was in London, probably more like the 400 to 500. And with much higher ones as it goes up. I've got some clients do 800, 900s. But if you're anywhere, my family originally from Liverpool, all those places. I've got some clients in Liverpool, got some clients in Manchester. £200 a month is very doable, very doable. So that's the type of premium. But how do you do it? Well, like I said, you do this income insurance first. So and this is in a ladder. It's in this order. Income insurance is the first thing we need, which is income while you're alive and income once you die for both individuals. Cover them both for the same for their income amount, which is about 60%, the maximum amount they can have on IP. Give them the same for FIB, and take them both to retirement ages, both ways. So whatever you're doing on the IP, do it on the FIB as well. So take them to retirement age. If you want budget on that, sometimes you might do to the 25th birthday of the child, of the youngest child, on FIB if you're not sure. But the truth is, if you wanted income till you retired, you probably need income the other way around as well. So to get them the biggest one, income protection, IP all the way up to retirement, FIB all the way up to retirement. Same amounts for Mr. and Mrs. Do not worry about if Mrs. makes more than Mr. or Mr. makes more than Mrs. They're insured for the amount they make. Don't insure them for 3,000 for. Don't get in the game of picking random numbers out, unless there's only one breadwinner. So like one main, like me and my wife, for example. My wife is a full-time stay-at-home mum, the hardest job in the world. And so obviously I work and she stays at home and looks after our kids. We both run the business together, but she predominantly does that. So for us, we look at it as if she's an income earner as well, because she technically is, because we run the business together. And so in that scenario, which does happen, it's not as common nowadays, but it does happen, then in that scenario, we have FIB we have FIB covering my income full amount, but also her income. So my income full amount, and then my income for half the amount if she was to pass. So meaning that I could still work, but it would also free me up to be able to go and look after the kids if I needed to. So we do it that way. Ideally, and I should probably change that to probably do full income for both, because I think that would probably be the way to do it. Now, that's how you do it. So income while you're alive and income while you're dead. It's the foundation. It's the lifeblood. Income does everything. If everything stops, then if income stops, everything stops. So we need to make sure that people know that. So that's the first foundation. If you are selling life insurance or critical illness before you've sold these two, you are going the wrong way. You always start with this, and these two are non-negotiable. When you're budgeting and going downhill, you can tweak the terms, but never let a client walk away without both forms of FIB and IP, whether that is 5 years on FIB, whatever it may be, or, you won't do 5 years. You still do the full term. FIB's so cheap, you'd keep going it to the full term, maybe 25 year on the 25th birthday of the child. And, 5 year budget IP, but never let them leave without some form of income protection. And not never, but never really strongly suggest that, it's IP, it's some form of income foundation. We need that. From there, what we then do is do a joint DTA mortgage cover, is what we call it, which is life insurance, and it's a joint DTA mortgage cover that pays off the mortgage instantly if one of you was to die. There's not some sort of, we get people get stuck in this thing of, if you die, then then it's no longer valid for the other person. Who cares? It's a mortgage cover. There's not two mortgages. Joint DTA, bang, done. That's what that covers. It makes it really clear for the client. We know this income covers our income, which is the lifeblood of our entire existence. If that stops, everything stops. Now we're gonna clear your mortgage. So if something was to happen to either one of you, the income still needs to flow, but the mortgage is something you don't have to worry about. That's what we do that. Then what we do is we layer on the next layer, which is critical illness cover. Now, critical illness cover, the way that I do this when I work with clients is we recommend an income multiple, normally 2 times income. So 2 times annual income per applicant, level term. So that's normally what we would do for the term of the mortgage, is what I'd normally take to the term of the mortgage, just because it's easier to do. You can choose the term limit up to you, but retirement age most likely. And so what that means is so if I'm making 35 grand a year, you're going to cover me for 70,000. But if my wife is making 45,000 a year, you're going to cover her for 90,000. And then people go, well, that's not fair. No, it's fine. It's justifiable. It's logical. That's what you're covering them for. And why we're doing this is we're doing this to cover any unforeseen medical bills, any home alterations, any lump sum payment of the mortgage if you want to do that. People don't use critical illness cover to pay off the mortgage. It's very, 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 very rare. But it is for home improvements, unforeseen medical bills, last minute things that are needed. If you get, chronically ill and you have to change the house, and when I say home improvements, I don't mean putting in a new bath. Might be if you like mobility stuff. stair lifts, changing it, putting an extension on the roof. I've got a friend of mine who lives local who's had to, sadly, got a very sick daughter, and they've had to change their entire layout of their house. They did a GoFundMe. If they'd done if they had a critical illness cover policy, well, kind of, it's a bit of a strange one with theirs, that could have paid out for it. That's the type of example of things they're for. So, but why we don't pick just some random number is actually more for the client. The clients, if they think you've just picked a random number, this stuff looks generic. We need it to look bespoke. So if everything is bespoke, it's taken to your retirement age and this retirement age there, and then we've got the mortgage insurance, and now we've got this critical illness cover, which is 2 times your annual income. All of a sudden, this policy to the client looks and is bespoke to their needs. It's not, I sell everybody 50 grand a kick. Why? What if I needed more? If I make 150, 200 grand a year, which there are people who do, by the way, they absolutely do. And if you're out there, why would you, I don't want 50 grand's worth of kick. I want 200 grand's worth of kick. So it's interesting to do it this way. Is if we do it by their income, then what we're doing is we're anchoring against something that they can afford and have. So this is what I'd call the full solution. This specifically is the full solution. It's a ladder-based product. So if you think about it, starts with income, so income protection and FIB, then it goes to mortgage, then it goes to critical illness cover. That's the kind of core. That's the full solution. If people query it, whack the kickoff first, and then start to cut away at the IP length and or stuff with the IP, but leave everything else. If you do that, you'll close more. You will close a lot more. This package will work because it's explained in that way. It's so much better. Now, on top of that, if you then want to make, there's even more ladders on top of this. There's 2 extra bonus products that we normally talk about. And this might be if you're then you wouldn't do this normally straight away. You might do this on an annual review or a remo. Because I see people all the time, they go, well, when I get a remo in, if I've done it right, and this has come off the back of clients doing it right with me, and then they go, okay, but now I've got a remo and they've come back in. They're like, what do I do now? And I'm like, great. Now what we do is we enhance their cover. And there are 2 extra enhancements they can have, which is, and I would go in this order. We then start to sell PMI. So if you don't sell PMI, start learning. And that gives us fast access to private healthcare when you need it most. And this is becoming more and more needed due to, the NHS being under stress and stuff like that. So PMI is a really great one. And they're just adding to their insurance stack. Like I've said to you, mine is increasing over time. So they're adding to this stack of insurance. And then what happens is then you can add on some lump sum life cover, which is legacy cover. So if you want to give them a big, here's $500,000 life insurance policy, bang, you can do that. Level term, $500,000 till retirement age, and it's there in case something happens. You want to be able to give your kids just this big lump sum money, but because the foundations are done, these are additional enhancements that can be brought in as you work with a client longer and longer. Now, with these type of clients over time, if you are somebody who's looking at potentially going into wealth and things like that long term, this is the type of stuff that would lead you into building a really good wealth relationship with your client, but you don't have to. So those are the kind of, that's the full solution, is that. The second one we have is what we call the tax-efficient solution. And the tax-efficient solution is for business owners. And this is for tax-efficient financial resilience. And this one is where you would literally just say it's relevant life and it's relevant kick. It's relevant life and ZEC IP. And that's the other kind of stack. So if you wanted to do that, you would mix those in to the proposition and remove the life insurance and the IP and swap it, but then keep the other 2 in place. So we'd say these are 2 tax efficient models, and then they can just choose which ones they want to keep and not keep. But you can bring that in too. That's kind of a little bit of a even more complex. If you're someone that deals with a lot of self-employed and limited company directors, you absolutely want to be utilizing relevant life and exec IP because it sells itself for many people. And the whole goal of this is, one, to make your clients have the best possible cover. And you'll make a lot of money from it, and you'll make them walk away with no bullets in the gun, which is the goal. But also what happens is people look at that stack of insurance, and any of you from the beginning, any of you who were the same to the person I mentioned at the beginning, if someone came across your desk and was like, oh, I have all of this stuff, you would crap yourself. You would have no idea how to deal with that. And then you just wouldn't. You just won't want to touch it. You'd be like, okay, I don't, because that's a very robust, interwoven, financially resilient product and service and advice and package. Not, oh yeah, he's got level term life, or he's got level term life and level term kick. I mean, I see all the time. I've got like £1 million worth of life. No. We are not in here for amateur hour. Do not do that. So that is my breakdown of my how actually the full solution, the elimination of all financial risk. That's what we use with my clients to massive effect. So if any of you follow me on Instagram, which I know a lot of you do, and you see those results that even blow my mind, by the way, when I get them in, I'm like, whoa, they make me feel poor. Is that I would say, I'm always like, gosh, I'm in the wrong job again. I need to go back to advising. But then I love doing this, so I wouldn't do that. But it's very possible. But we have to think about it differently. This is just one of many steps that I use with my clients to get them to think differently about it. But you absolutely need to think differently when it comes to your insurance package. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. I've got a herniated disc. My back is killing me recording this. Need to stand up. I'm going to get this all packaged up. And I'll see you next week. Bye.